Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on the 3D Critic channel. I'm David, your host, and today I'm going to give you guys my performance review on the Nike Zoom Freak 6. Now, when it came to the Zoom Freak 5s, it was a very underrated shoe from last year. The traction was very good in my opinion. The cushioning, while basic, it was nice and responsive, has nice bounce in the forefoot, and really nice heel cushioning on top of that. The materials, while they were pretty basic, they were pretty good overall and pretty comfortable. And as well as the support and lockdown, while it wasn't much, it just got the job done overall. And for the price that you got for it, it was very good, to say the least, when it came to the overall package. So now that the Freak 6 came around, I wanted to see if there are any improvements to the 6s compared to the 5s. And now that I have them and tried them on for myself, here's what I think of them. When it came to the trying experience at first, it was pretty straightforward as it gets. Didn't really have any issues either putting them on or taking them off. It was pretty straightforward. It's a very basic shoe when it comes to the overall shoe itself. So it wasn't anything crazy when it comes to going in and out of the shoe. For the fit, I went true to size, and initially it feels like a one-to-one fit, especially when it comes to the width of the shoe. It felt really nice and conformed to my foot, and it felt like an overall one-to-one fit. However, it does break in over time, causing it to open up a little bit, and as a result, it does run a little long when it comes to the overall length of this shoe, and it does open up a little bit for the width, so it will tend to slide a little bit when it comes to the lockdown, which I will get to later on in the video. So for sizing, I would go down half a size to get like the overall best one-to-one fit for yourself. And for narrow footers, I'll probably do the same, maybe go down a full size. And for wide footers, you should be good to go ordering your true size and maybe trying out going up a half size. If you have the chance to try them on in stores, feel free to do so. So for me, I would personally go down half a size to get that overall nice one-to-one fit, considering that the material does break in over time. And as far as pricing is concerned, they go for $140 for original colorways. However, I got this specific colorway for $150 on Nike's website. So if you guys are interested in the Freak 6 or the Freak 5s, in that case, they're going for a little less than 50% off when it comes to the overall pricing. I'm seeing prices as low as $80 for the Freak 5s. So if you guys are interested in either of those shoes, I will leave links in the description box below. So for the traction pattern itself, you're getting this very flat rubber outsole with this multi-directional traction pattern that is inspired by Giannis's logo, and it is full length compared to the Freak 5s where it had it in the forefoot, and it transitions to like this very aggressive herringbone pattern with the spear traction that you got. And for the grip level, it is pretty good overall in my opinion. It is very comparable to the Freak 5s, but you do need to break it in a little bit, because in the beginning I found myself sliding initially here and there when I started playing in it, but once you warm it up, it is really good. And as a result, when it came to lateral movements, it felt very grippy going from side to side. It was very sticky and tacky on the floor once you rubber it in, and it felt nice, quick, and snappy at the end of the day. So I felt really quick going side to side. Vertical movements, they're really good. The hard stops felt sudden, but it does have a little bit of give to them, so it doesn't really go bonkers on your toes when you are stubbing your toe into the material. So that was pretty good from what I've noticed. And you get nice instant traction on your first step. I found it to be nice and quick, getting a nice quick first step off of the floor because of the tackiness of the rubber itself. And the rubber is has some give to it, that way it is able to basically grab the floor and propel you forward. So the traction setup is very similar to the Freak 5. The traction pattern on this is slightly more spaced out in the 6s compared to the 5s, so that is one slight difference that I have noticed when it came down to the overall pattern itself. On dusty courts, it performs very well. I didn't experience a lot of dust pickup on these, so it was very straightforward. And when I was done with it, I picked them up and there was no dust on it. So it was overall pretty good when it comes to picking up dust. And really didn't pick up that much dust, and once it picked up dust, it was very easy to wipe off, so you're going to be good to go with 1 or 2 wipes here and there, and basically you're going to be good to go for the rest of the time while you're playing. For durability, it is really good. I only noticed a little bit of wear in the high wear areas, and everywhere else looks like it hasn't been touched, so that was overall pretty good on indoor courts especially, so I didn't experience that much wear. However, I would keep these indoors because of the softness of the rubber itself. It has a good bit of give to it, and it is quite thin in the high wear area, so it's going to wear off pretty quickly once you start playing in them outdoors. So if you want these to last, I would keep these indoors, especially if you're going to be playing in these long term. As long as you keep it indoors, you're going to be good to go. Just avoid them outdoors in general. So overall, the traction pattern itself is very similar to the Freak 5's traction setup, but it is a lot more simpler and more full length when it comes to the overall traction pattern itself. Now for the cushioning itself, it is exactly the same cushioning setup that you're going to get from the Freak 5s, which is this full length Phylon midsole with this zoom aero unit in the forefoot that you get, and it's basically the same when it comes to the overall feel from front to back. In the forefoot, you get a very responsive and lively feel from the jump. However, there is no shank, so you won't have that springboard-like feel, and it basically solely relies on the foam and as well as the zoom unit itself to give you that nice pop under your foot. But they're a little bouncy nonetheless because the shoe itself is very light and you're able to get off the ground fairly easily in these when it comes to the overall bounciness and responsiveness of the forefoot cushioning. In the heel, they are very comfortable and very comparable to the Freak 5s. It has really nice compression in the heel and the overall impact protection feels really good. But compared to the Freak 5s, the 6s feel slightly firmer due to the simplicity of the midsole itself. And in the 5s, it had the cork in the heel, which gave the foam a little bit more compression and more forgiveness, making it feel a little more softer compared to the 6s itself. So that was a little bit of a downgrade when it comes to the overall heel cushioning in the 6s compared to the 5s. But in terms of fluidity, they feel exactly the same. Heel to toe transitions are really smooth. And given the fact that there is no shank, the transitions are very fluid overall, but it doesn't have that snappiness overall in the shoe itself to give you that nice springboard-like effect. But as I said earlier, the shoe itself is pretty light, and it is very light underfoot, so you won't have any issues going up and down the court. And it was fairly easy going up and down the court, so you won't be having any issues with that. It's not going to be a lively experience. It's just going to be enough to get you up and down the court. So overall, it's the same exact midsole setup that you get in the Freak 5s, which is a little disappointing. I would have liked to see like a shank plate to give it that little extra springiness underfoot, but you can't go wrong with the cushioning setup itself. I just feel a little bit disappointed that it is the exact same as the Freak 5s as well. But overall, the responsiveness is pretty good, bounciness as well. Overall, heel cushioning is good. However, over time, because there is no shank, it will bottom out over time and it won't feel as comfortable and responsive in the long run. So be mindful of that once you're dealing with like long-term use of the shoe. It will start to bottom out and it won't feel as comfortable itself. That was the same exact experience that I had with the Freak 5s. It does tend to bottom out a little bit more. So keep that in mind when it comes to long-term use for the overall cushioning setup as well. Now, looking closely at the materials, you're going to get a bunch of really nice engineered mesh material all around the shoe with leather surrounding the lace line as well as the ankle collar, with panels that you get on the medial side of the shoe that exposes a little bit more of the mesh material, which is really nice. And the tongue itself has very minimal padding, and it also has leather on the top with more mesh on the body of the tongue itself. And as far as comfort goes, they were very comfortable. The mesh was very stretchy and flexible in the forefoot once you break it in. The padding on the tongue is minimal, but still comfortable, and I didn't experience any lace irritation with the reinforced lace line that you get throughout the midfoot. That way it balances out the overall tightness of the laces itself. So that was pretty good when it comes to overall comfort in the midfoot and forefoot. The padding in the heel is pretty nice too, and it is in line with the amount of padding that you got from the Freak 5, so it was overall pretty comfortable, and you get decent padding overall in the ankle collar area especially. So it's overall a very comfortable shoe and very comparable to the Freak 5s. Aesthetically, in this colorway, they look really nice overall. However, when it comes to the basic colorways, they look pretty basic, like I said, but they don't look too bad. It doesn't pop out on anyone at the end of the day, but this colorway I like especially, and it is the best one so far that I have seen, with the array of roses that you get on the lateral side of the shoe, and you're going to get more of it on the tongue, and it is incorporated with the Giannis logo as well. And you also get some storytelling features with the rubber going up into the back of the heel, and it has names in the Giannis family, which is a nice touch and gives it that storytelling vibe. And it's overall pretty nice when it comes to the overall aesthetics in this colorway, but the other colorways, they look pretty basic to me. Well, in terms of overall materials in general, they are nice, but kind of a downgrade compared to the Freak 5s, where you got a good bit of leather materials. You do get leather materials here, but not as much as the 5s. But you can't go wrong with the overall materials. They are very comfortable, and they look decently aesthetically pleasing as well. Now, getting into lockdown, to me, they get the job done overall, in my opinion. In the forefoot, the width fits like a glove, but the material has some give, so you're going to be experiencing some sliding here and there, especially when you're doing lateral movements. When you're doing side-to-side movements, it does tend to slide out a little bit on you. That way, it's a little bit less lockdown overall in the forefoot. And because of the shoe running a little long, you do slide a little bit in the forefoot when you're doing hard stops, which is a little bit of an issue, but it was doable when it comes to playing in this shoe. And the midfoot, it's pretty basic as it has been simplified in the Freak 6s compared to the Freak 5s. And it overall has really nice containment, and it is bare bones when it comes to the overall lacing system. With the reinforced eyelets that you get with the leather, it gives it really nice containment. That way you won't be moving at all in the midfoot. And the heel, you get some heel slippage in the beginning, but as you break in the padding in the back, it does improve to the point where you get a little bit of heel slippage. And from time to time, I barely even noticed it when I was playing it. So overall, it was pretty good when it came down to it. And in that case, it feels pretty much the same as the Freak 5's lockdown system. But in the midfoot, the Freak 5s are a little bit better with the contoured lace line that you get, as well as the straps that you get on both sides, on the lateral and medial side. It just gives it a little extra containment in the midfoot compared to the Freak 6s, which is just pretty basic when it comes to the overall lacing system. But in terms of lockdown, you can't go wrong with the lockdown. Forefoot's pretty good, but you do get some sliding here and there. Midfoot's pretty good, and the heel, as you keep playing it, it improves over time. A little bit better in the 5s, but in the 6s, it's pretty good as well. And last but not least, when it comes to support, it's pretty much the same thing as the Freak 5s in my opinion, which is kind of disappointing in that aspect. For the lateral support itself, it just gets the job done just like the Freak 5s with a little bit of differences here and there. In the forefoot, you do get a midsole that bulges outward a little bit, and that creates this little outrigger. And you also sit within the midsole, so in the event that the material gives out on you, because the material is very flexible and it's very easy to get out on you, it does contain it a little bit to the point where it just gets the job done when it comes to lateral support in the forefoot. In the midfoot, the midsole does ride up a little higher, and you also get this plastic piece that gives you a little extra containment, and you get some extra rigidity from the materials itself with this TPU plastic that you get from the Nike logo overall, which is pretty good overall, but is a little bit of a downgrade compared to the Freak 5s, where you get the leather Nike logo, which gave the materials a little more rigidity when it comes to the overall midfoot support. In the heel, it's exactly the same. You get a very rugged internal TPU heel gounder, which is very nice and containing in the heel, and it is overall pretty much locked in when it comes to the overall heel support, just like the Freak 5s in that aspect. In the torsion support department, it is not good at all because there is no shank. So it is very easy to contort this shoe overall, and it is going to be an issue for some people, especially landing on an angle, which can lead to ankle sprains, which is a kind of an issue to deal with overall. The only point of rigidity is this plastic piece in the midfoot, but overall it just gets the job done when it comes to torsional support. I got enough balance under my foot, that way I wasn't being sloppy with my footwork at the end of the day. So it just gets the job done when it comes to torsional support. For the base itself, it is fairly nice. It has a very flat, wide base, which is flatter than the Freak 5s in my opinion, with the overall midsole being extremely flat from front to back. So that is very nice, and it is fairly wide too when you're coming down on your own 2 feet, so you're going to have enough stability when you're coming down on a stable platform. So it is overall very nice, flat, and very containing when it comes to the overall base support from the shoe itself. But at the end of the day, the support for me is exactly the same as the Freak 6, which is kind of a disappointment. I was expecting a little more from it, and I didn't get it. But at the end of the day, the support just gets the job done for me, just like the Freak 5s. So to sum it up for you guys, in many ways, the Freak 6s perform just like the Freak 5s in my opinion. To me, the traction feels exactly the same, but it is more simplified and spaced out, which as a result, you will not collect as much dust at the end of the day. But overall, it basically pretty much performs the exact same way. The cushion feels exactly the same when it comes to responsiveness, bounciness. However, the heel cushioning in the 6s is a little firmer compared to the 5s. Materials are on par, but I prefer the materials more in the Freak 5s. And overall, lockdown and support are very similar as well. So in that case, I wouldn't recommend the 6s over the 5s, because you can get the 5s for much cheaper with the same exact performance. So it is kind of hard to recommend these over the 5s, because over the overall price, you can get the 5s for almost half the price that you could get for the 6s in general. But overall, the 6s are still a good shoe. They feel just like the 5s, which are very underrated, but it is kind of a disappointment due to the fact that it is the exact same. I would have liked something a little bit more improved when it comes to the overall performance, maybe add a shank of all things, to give it a little more liveliness under your foot and more durability for the cushioning itself, and maybe a little more support from the materials themselves as well. So at the end of the day, they just get the job done. I wouldn't recommend it. I would prefer the 5s over the 6s at the end of the day for the overall price. So if you want to save some money on something similar to the Freak 6s, I would go with the Freak 5s at the end of the day. Thank you guys for watching this video. This has been my performance review on the Nike Zoom Freak 6. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and comment down below on which shoe you think is better, the Freak 6s or the Freak 5s, or are they exactly the same in your eyes? I'd like to know your thoughts on that, as well as any other questions that you might have. If you'd like to stay up to date with future videos that I'll be posting, hit the subscribe button down below and it will greatly support the channel as well. If you want to see my review on the Freak 5s, I will leave it on this side of the screen. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me via social media. All of that information will be in the description box below as well if you guys are interested. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I hope this was beneficial to you guys. And until next time, keep shooting.